stage 1, we say nothing is going to happen.
Stage 2, we say something may be going to happen, but we should do nothing about it.
In stage 3, we say that maybe we should do something about it, but there's nothing we can do.
Stage 4, we say maybe there was something we could have done, but it's too late now.
So talking more today about coronavirus and how one fact that is true is lockdowns don't work.
No, they don't.
The cure is more deadly than the virus.
Agreed.
And that's not really a matter of opinion. The R rate that really is soaring is redundancies.
Yep.
This is the only virus I can remember anyway, or at least that you've seen reported on, that has been judged by cases.
Yeah. Ebola was judged based on death.
Yeah, and during the summer, if you remember back that long ago, as it's summer Christmas tomorrow,
yeah,
there was a point where deaths with were so low they wouldn't stop banging on about cases. It was a case-demic.
Yeah, it was quite frustrating because I was banging on to people. It's not about cases anymore. It can't be, because if we...
You mean it's not about deaths?
No, but it's not about cases anymore. It shouldn't be. As in, what I was trying to say is that initially it was about deaths. We were panicking.
Yes.
And then it started to become about cases. And I'm like, it's not about cases.
A case-demic.
Yeah. We need to start looking at, okay, this is the amount of people infected. Well, it's bound to get that eventually. But we need to start looking at the deaths like we did at the beginning. It's not about cases. And it was frustrating me. That's all that was coming out.
Low.
The death rate itself... I mean, what is it? 0.3, is it? 0.03?
Of the entire world population, 0.22% people have died with, not of, with. Now,
Yes.
I really must stress with, because at least in the UK, Public Health England admitted, and this is before the PCR tests that have reported up to 91% false positive rate, link below, that before those tests even came out, anyone who had shown symptoms of basically a virus that is very similar to the flu, so anyone who'd shown flu-like symptoms but then died within 28 days went down as a COVID death. So they were soaring.
And wasn't that as well?
Actually, they weren't even soaring.
Wasn't that also with death doesn't have to necessarily be COVID? It was like hit by a bus.
Yeah, so literally, if you
fall
were
off
hit
a ladder
by a bus, but 25 days prior, you were on your medical records had COVID-related symptoms. Literally, could be as much as that.
Yeah.
You went down as a COVID-related death. Public Health England also admitted double counting at one point. The CDC in America took off the number 55,000 rings a bell, but it's in the 50,000 mark. They took that off their coronavirus deaths statistics a couple of weeks ago.
Also taking into account that when you say the whole world, surely that's taken in account the lesser countries with lesser medical systems, with poorer systems, with poorer countries without the kind of healthcare we get in America or in the UK or in Canada and such as that, where, life expectancy is actually less anyway. The death rate is higher in those countries. And so taking into account the whole world, is it 0.22 you said?
0.22% of the world's population have died with the virus.
Speechless.
Yeah. So we've had 78.7 million recorded cases. Now, at the very start, they talked about how this is a very infectious disease, and I'm not doubting that it's not. But that means that there's got to be way more people who haven't been tested, who have had the virus, and still not gone down as a COVID stat. So that would mean there's even more cases, and surely the percentage then would be even less of COVID-related deaths.
Put it this way, I've never been tested for COVID, ever.
I've never
My
been
mum was tested positive for the antibodies, but that I haven't been tested, but obviously that means I'm 99% sure I've had the virus, because there's a period of time in which most of my family can pinpoint where we thought we might have had the virus. My mum's been working in care since March. She's been tested for active in her system, the active COVID, since the beginning of March, negative all the way through. Then she got tested for the antibodies in October, and the test was positive, which means pre-March our family had COVID. my dad, me, and my brother all understand where we might have had it due to symptoms we had, and we can pinpoint them being that. And my mum was feeling the same around that time. We're not a statistic that we survived. We're not on that statistic list, but we believe and have very clear evidence that we've had COVID.
I mean,
Only
I
my
was
mum
hit
will
for
be
6 in November.
Yeah, only my mum will be on that statistic list. One person out of 4.
Yeah. Which goes back to the whole point of an overreaction, surely.
Let's be quite clear. Some bellend will go, oh, you don't know you had it, though. You know, my mum could have... I live here. Like, fuck off.
You're going to come in contact with the virus. And we really want to stress the fact that anyone who has lost anyone because of this, we're not trying to delegitimize their death or even say, we just don't care about them. We do. Every death's a tragedy.
That's why we all complied with the first lockdown. We didn't want that to happen.
However, the cure
is worse than the disease.
Yep. Lockdowns do not work. Now, flu numbers are now almost non-existent.
It's because they're being reported as COVID now.
Possibly.
I mean, we can probably presume most definitely, but let's say possibly to appease the few that go. You can't talk in absolutes.
Yeah, and if you've got statistics to really argue against this, I'd love to hear them. I really would.
Yeah,
but be civil. Anyway, a couple of days ago, the tier 4s went everywhere. Blah blah blah.
As you just enjoyed that clip.
Yeah. So. London's in Tier 4 of lockdown. Now, an internal NHS dashboard shows that 14% of beds in NHS London hospitals are currently occupied by COVID patients. 15 are completely unoccupied. So we have the shutting down of non-essential businesses. And I would fight tooth and nail that every single business is essential.
It's essential to someone.
Yes, exactly that. It is essential to someone, and these lockdowns are doing more harm than good for those people. Because some businesses that have been around for decades, like family businesses, are gone for good.
Yes, there's not as many hospital beds taken up, but there's new strains. And the infection rate of these strains are supposedly higher.
Which mutates every year.
But going along with that point, would you say the measures aren't as drastic because with this new strains that are coming out being more infectious, shutting down might be their only option?
I see your point. And no, I think they still think they are as drastic because we've seen with every single lockdown they haven't worked. In some cases where people have locked down, i.e. Wales, infection rates have gone up, again using PCR tests that have a very high false positive rate that has been reported. However, at some point there's going to be no one left to protect for these lockdowns.
Yep.
Alcoholism's gone up, drug use has gone up, suicide from mental health disorders has soared. God forbid.
Poverty has soared.
Yeah, this is the destruction of the middle class.
You saw the 1920s famine in America. We're seeing it around the world now. Thanks, COVID.
Yes.
Thanks, government. Because COVID doesn't necessarily cause this. The government's reaction.
Government reaction has done this.
But just to note with you, I completely agree with your points. Just playing devil's advocate.
I know. But back to what, with these lockdowns, imagine those families where there's a woman who's got a bit of an angry husband. She can't quite leave. Her only way out was maybe her job that she goes to. Or the job he goes to.
Same with kids.
Or that kid who's got a rough dad or a shit mum. And next thing you know, they're locking down schools and forcing that kid to stay at home 24/7. I can actually feel my throat kind of tightening how sad that sounds to me. Mm-hmm. It sickens me. But these locking downs have done much more harm. Economically, no economy, no health service. As well as the domestic problems, alcoholism, drug use, abuse.
Crime will start to surge very quickly. It hasn't yet, it will.
But poor economy, no jobs, no amenities. One thing that always comes with that is rising. So, back to more stats. 2.2% of confirmed COVID cases have died with. That's not a lot. That's not even 2 million. Of a 7.8 billion global population. Now, yeah, again, it's really sad that people have died. But it is going to affect more people and kill more people with all these drastic measures.
I wonder if someone's actually written up statistics of the death rate of post-COVID problems, like, redundancies, poverty.
Well, such as when they stopped doing cancer screenings and cancer treatments. Yes. A friend of mine, one of his mates was absolutely livid that his mum, the cancer treatment stopped. So basically, she's buggered.
So I do wonder then if there's someone out there, and it's going to be quite ambiguous, but if they can try and put together an accurate statistics of how many people are actually dying due to these regulations.
Well, yeah,
and if that's higher than COVID.
I was listening to talk radio. This was a couple of months ago, and this doctor who was very anti-lockdown was discussing the fact that with all the screenings they missed for cancers, if they started them up again today, back then, I forget the exact number, but I mean, the number was huge. How many people would die because, quite frankly, it's simply too late to screen them all, treat them all.
There's something you got to catch straight away. You let it sit. That's why, you get those adverts for men to check their testicles. Check them, find it early, sort it out.
Early treatment, which brings me on to my next point, actually. So, hydroxychloroquine. Bam. Deplatformed. Hydroxychloroquine has been used by many doctors to treat. It's for early treatment of coronavirus. And Dr. Simone Gold, so she works for the American Frontline. I think she set up American Frontline Doctors. Anyway, the link will be in the bio. She got sacked over her publicising of this, the use of this, when she was told, no, we're not doing that. It almost became a political thing.
Often does.
The way she was treating her patients, which had positive results.
Well, I'll give you an example. So I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and so Brendan Schaub, I believe that's how you say his name, an ex-UFC fighter who's turned to be a podcaster and a comedian. He's a close friend of his.
Yeah.
He had COVID, and he went to the doctor, and the doctor went to prescribe him that, but the doctor said to him first, what's your political beliefs? He actually checked with him. If he didn't want it, he wouldn't have to have it if his political belief didn't align with it. They had to check his political belief first. And he was quoted saying, like, I don't care, just throw anything in me that will just get rid of it. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
But doctors now, in America, from what I've heard, are checking with people, are you woke, are you not woke?
Doctors have been fired for this. Not only fired, a lot of their stuff, because I saw it before it was getting taken off. Now, if Twitter, YouTube, Facebook want to prove us wrong and tell us free speech is not dying, they won't take this down. But
they won't get far enough to hear that comment, and they'll take us down.
Yeah, we're already gone. We're talking to no one right now. We just sat in your room having a chin wag. Anyway, so yeah, there have been doctors that have been lost their jobs because of this. So Simone Gold, she was talking at the Student Action Summit in America that has just been on this last week. Charlie Kirk, there's a lot of stuff there. And one of the other doctors there was talking about the unnecessary use of a vaccine for this. So vaccines, whether you believe it or not, the fact of the matter is, have caused problems. Now, in some cases, it may have been blown out of proportion, may have been falsely identified, but they can cause problems, which they've already done with this one. So he talks about how the reason they don't have a vaccine for the common cold is that you can I forget the exact term, we'll get the link pretty sure it begins with P, but anyway, you have a negative effect. What happens is your body creates almost like negative antibodies, and your body then becomes under attack. Now, this can happen with vaccines. So it's not that I'm against all vaccinations.
Basically, your system goes into hyperdrive, your immune system,
yes,
and creates bad antibodies.
And puts your own body under attack. Yep. To a point where it can be quite detrimental.
So have you ever noticed, a lot of people can relate to this, they have a vaccine, say for the flu or something, and then suddenly they feel crap for the next few days, a week, even a month. Well, that's the reason why.
Yes.
Like, I had a jab before I went to uni, and I felt awful for a few days after. And I believe that's probably one of the effects. My immune system just went a bit weird, haywire.
Possibly, but in some cases it can be more damaging.
Well, it can be long term, isn't it?
So we'll put the link in the bottom where the Student Action Summit, where Dr. Simone Gold and the other people from American Frontline Doctors.
I'll put the link for it, and then I'll try and timestamp where he says it.
Yeah, because it's really important what he says. Because this is a professional doctor. It's not just some crazy guy like me sat in my mate's bedroom filming.
Small bedroom.
It's a professional doctor. I am putting forward his information. So, one of the other main things that really gets my back up about all this, and how I really do think it's been blown out of proportion. Again, some people are very unfortunate. That's part of life. I'd like to go to what I call the hypocrites board. So it's either those that are peddling all the information, telling us we will basically die if we leave our house, or those who give us that information, who create that information. Anyway, first up, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. Now, California is an absolute shithole now. The scenery looks lovely, but the politics have ruined it. A lot of people have left for Texas.
A lot of the very famous and wealthy individuals who can leave have all left.
Yes, if you have money, you leave.
Yep.
Anyway, Gavin Newsom has been one of the most ardent advocates of lockdowns and coronavirus restrictions until he was caught in the... Was it called the French Laundry? Something. Anyway, a very small restaurant in the Napa Valley.
For a friend's anniversary for their wedding.
Yes, quite a few of them. And even in his apology, it was quite psychopathic the way he was giggling whilst apologising.
It's almost like he's had facial surgery and can't just reset at normal. He has to smile. Yeah. It's almost like he's had surgery of some sort and he has to all the time. Yeah, no, I shouldn't have been there. Yeah,
And even at one point said, my mistake will
show you what you shouldn't do.
You shouldn't do, yes. Anyway, next up, yes, the one who says more times on telly than she speaks sense. That's Beth Rigby, Sky News political correspondent, who was recently caught out at Kay Burley. I just did Beth Rigby then. At Kay Burley's 60th birthday party, where Kay Burley was also in trouble. Next up, Lori Lightfoot. Again, a bit like Gavin Newsom, she was a huge advocate of the restrictions and destroying people's livelihoods and businesses whilst never taking a pay cut.
And then also would love to celebrate amongst the streets.
And then went to celebrate Donald Trump's loss.
But they all wore masks. Wait.
Oh, wait,
they
no,
weren't.
But they didn't all wear masks, did they? And she was shouting in a
But people need relief, and they're all wearing masks.
Oh, we need a bit of relief.
From their lockdown.
Next up, Nancy Pelosi. Now, this is the woman who called... tax cuts of over $1,000 that will go straight into people's pockets as... What was it used exactly? Anyway, said they're not very much, and then tried to give people a $600 paycheck as a COVID relief bill. That put $25 million towards their pay rises. She was caught at a hairdresser salon. Is that what you call it? I don't know what they're called.
Saloon. Hairdressers.
Yeah, hairdressers that she had them all shut because they're non-essential businesses, but she had them open just for her and she didn't wear a mask.
And supposedly she said she was framed. Well, what are you doing there then?
Yeah, she actually had the audacity to blame the people at the salon.
Yeah.
Anyway, next up, Dr. Hillary. You might see him on Good Morning Britain quite a lot. He initially said masks are useless, unnecessary, and then said people are selfish if they don't wear them, and has recently been seen in a shop buying stuff without a mask, despite on the window of the mask, and you can see him, it says please wear a mask. Next up, there's quite a few of these. Kay Burley, as we all know at Kay Burley, Sky News presenter. They both got done together, same thing with Beth Rigby. Then we got Gary Lineker, another one who called people selfish for not wearing masks and then didn't wear one in a shop.
Good footballer.
Here he is, the man, the twat, the penis. Piers Morgan, the man whose agenda is Piers Morgan, regularly flip-flops and phone taps people. And also, again, I mean, he really hammered home how selfish people were if they weren't wearing masks.
Yep.
Says it's fine to go protest, though, because,
Right.
Because, a virus can't get you if you're protesting racism.
Or past 10 o'clock.
And recently he was caught in a taxi with other people not wearing a mask. Ian Blackford, the man who I'm pretty sure when he speaks in the House of Commons is holding the same pieces of paper he's held since his first day. Look it up. Every time he's got a roll of paper. I don't think there's anything on it, which makes it look important. Ridiculed Dominic Cummings for taking his child to a support bubble when him and his wife were falling ill and they didn't feel they'd be able to look after him. Now, had he not actually technically been within the rules, and given that reason, which I have no reason to believe isn't true, he's not on the board. But if it comes out that that was all a lie, I mean, the Barnard Castle story is a bit dubious.
Yep.
Lovely place, so I recommend you visit. He would be on there as well. And then the most recent one, Wee Jimmy Cranky.
Is there any reason she's the biggest?
Nicola Sturgeon. It's just the way it's cropped. And she's the most recent one. This woman she got one of her MPs to leave the party, because Margaret Ferrier, because they went to the House of Commons despite having symptoms, went on public transport back to Scotland, went to the gym, went shopping while showing all these symptoms, and whilst being a lawmaker, was rightly punished for it. If you're going to make these rules, you must abide by them.
Yep.
And Nicola Sturgeon even said, she should be resigning. She should, they had her ousted from the party. And then the other day, in a pub, Nicola Sturgeon, leader of the Scottish National Party, broke her own rules. So when people ask, why do I think this is all a bit blown out of proportion? And because this is just a small section of people who have actually broke these rules.
We'll be adding to this too.
We'll definitely be adding to them.
We'll have to make some of this photos.
I actually had a picture of Margaret Ferrier somewhere, but I think I lost it. Because these are hypocrites and don't follow their own rules, it gives me reason to believe they're bullshitting. And it's not such a big deal. It requires such drastic measures.
Along with that, hopefully we've given you some
food for thought.
Yeah, food for thought. And
you can probably tell I was a little bit miffed in this one. But I am always open to civil debate. If you want to get in touch with me and question me, and who knows, even maybe change my mind or Corey's mind, feel free to get in touch. Oh, on that last note, with draconian measures, a man putting out his bins and having a cigarette on his front porch in New South Wales, Australia, was arrested because he left his house arrest. Till next time.
Catch you then.